Congressman Gibbs, the next question is to you. For many Americans, the cost of health insurance and health care is a key economic concern because of the price increases that seem to come every year. Drug costs continue to go up. Many with pre-existing conditions fear they will lose coverage and protections are removed. What should be done to rein the cost of health care, health insurance, and drug prices, while also ensuring access to medical care for those with pre-existing conditions?
Great question. Glad you asked it, Brad. What we need to do is get competition back in the marketplace. We don't have competition in the marketplace. You know, people are conflating. You got your large group employers, your small group employers, and individual market. Now, Obamacare made some adjustments across the board, but it's mostly focused on the individual market, which is, by the way, 7% of the people that have insurance. And so what a lot of my Democrat colleagues in Congress are talking is let's do Medicare for all, let's get people all the employee market on Medicare for all and destroy the Medicare as we know it today. An absolute disaster. And so what we need to do in healthcare is get that competition back in there. Let's increase the health savings accounts so people can use that to pay for routine and preventative care. Let's make sure. I know I had my neighbor come to me earlier this year and said, I just got a letter, and she's on the individual, she's on the exchanges, and said they're not going to cover insurance next year. I can't go away to buy insurance. We had 3 counties in this district. That was the case. We got that worked out. So you're lucky if you got 1 insurer. If you got 2 insurers to pick from, you're really lucky. Now think about it, there's just no competition. And now what we're seeing, since we've opened this up now, President Trump did one thing Obamacare did away with association plans. You all had to go in the exchanges if you were in the individual market. And so what happened now, you go to association plans. I just saw an ad on TV. Some entity advertising must be an association plan. If you don't like what you have to buy on the exchanges, come to us. We're opening it up. We're giving consumers choices. So now, this month, we're actually seeing a stabilizing of prices for the pricing for the premiums for the individual market for next year. Maybe some going down because it's always been increasing. So we're seeing competition is really the answer to that. And pre-existing conditions, a bill we passed last year, the American Health Care Act, protected pre-existing conditions. I'm a strong advocate to protect pre-existing conditions. There's no question about that. And if you were in a large employer plan, that was an issue anyways. And so pre-existing conditions are going to get protected. We made that sure. It was in our bill last year. It passed out of the House. Obviously, the Senate dropped it. But we're going to make sure that pre-existing conditions is taken care of. And anybody that's had insurance, they should not lose insurance because they got sick. And our bill says if you let it lapse, we give you a 63-day window, and you get back in. And if you never bought insurance, we have a provision to get back in and pay a surcharge for 1 year, and you're back at the rate to pay a penalty for not doing the responsible thing. But in this bill, states can get waivers if they come up with plans that's better than what they can get on the exchanges to protect pre-existing conditions. So all this rhetoric out there is saying it's not true. It's absolutely true. We're protecting pre-existing conditions. The president's talking about that. And whatever we pass, a co-sponsor of another bill that says anything we do in replacement of Obamacare, that pre-existing conditions will be taken care of.
The president called the health care plan that Congressman Gibbs voted for mean because it took away protections for pre-existing conditions. We need a health care system that works for all of Iowans. For all of Iowans. And yet we have a congressman who has voted time and time again to take away our health care, to take away protections for pre-existing conditions. For me, this is not political, it is deeply personal. And it's deeply personal for just about everyone across this district that I've talked to. I've knocked on thousands of doors. And on one of these recent doors, I had a conversation with a woman. I was talking to her about Lizzie. And no sooner had I finished telling her about that feeling of leaving a child on an operating table that she began to cry. And she told me about her 25-year-old daughter who had just had a double mastectomy for an aggressive tumor. And they were terrified as a family about where their daughter was going to get health care. Who was going to take on that risk? They were terrified about who was going to employ her. What employer was going to take on that risk? We need a system that guarantees protections for people with pre-existing conditions, that stabilizes the markets by funding the exchanges to finally, at long last, bring down premium costs. Premiums are going to go up again in Ohio this year, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Studies. We need a system that allows early Medicare buy-in for older Americans, and I would go one step beyond that and encourage access to the FEHB for younger Americans, the Federal Employee Health Care Benefit Plan. And yet we have a congressman who has failed to lead on any of these ideas and has done worse, has hurt Ohioans. If we're simply ideological, if the vote to take away nearly $400 billion from Medicare was about ideas, if the votes against pre-existing condition was about ideas, I might be able to have an honest disagreement. But at the end of the day, we know what it's about with Congressman Gibbs. It's about money. You look at the $1 million our congressman has taken from corporate PACs, $123,000 of those dollars from insurance companies on the eve of those votes to take away health care from nearly 500,000 Ohioans. And it begs the question, sir, is there anything in your office that is not for sale?
Well, my opponent's got the Democrat talking points down really well. Healthcare Act, there's a Tom McCarthy, New Jersey amendment we worked on really hard that says, and I'll just read it to you, no state under any circumstances may ever obtain a waiver for guaranteed issue of coverage, guaranteed renewability of coverage, or the prohibition on denying coverage due to pre-existing conditions. This amendment specifically clarifies that provisions cannot be construed as allowing insurers to limit coverage for those with pre-existing conditions. All these protections remain in the law. And I believe most of my insurance company is Westfield employees who have here in Ohio and nationwide, and then we invite
Dr. Clear, and it's not.